This is slap insane, and I'm glad I found it where I can record it. This is the day of the first debate between Trump and Biden. Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. Okay? And this is a live news feed that is America's Voice Live. Okay? And I've done listened to about 45 minutes of this. And I tell you what, it is well worth listening to. Okay? So, enough of the jibber jabber. I just thought I'd put an introduction of it, of what's going on. And let's listen to what we heard so far. Check this out. Wait a minute, I gotta do something first. Okay, here we go. Listen up.
From our Denver studios, it's America's Voice Live with Tudor Dixon and Steve Gruber. America's Voice Live. Live from our Denver studio.
Welcome to America's Voice Live on this Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. A highly anticipated day across the country because tonight we watch President Trump and Democrat nominee Joe Biden face off in their first debate of the 2020 election. The debate comes amid some breaking financial news on both sides, and Project Veritas goes undercover to prove the president's point. Election fraud is real and in the works already for November in Minnesota. Ilhan Omar is accused of buying her votes. One common theme in this election is fear is king. From coronavirus to the Supreme Court, the latest threat, Judge Amy Coney Barrett will turn back the clock on equality. But first, the debate is tonight, and I know you will be watching, Steve.
Well, I certainly will, Tudor. It's Fight Night in America, debate number one, September 29th in Cleveland, Ohio. I know our next guest, Terrence K. Williams, will be watching as well, and why wouldn't he? Millions of Americans will gather around to see what is said on both sides. Now, I heard today, interestingly enough, that there are only 5% of the Biden voters that are persuadable, 4% of the Trump voters. Terrence, welcome back, of course. I'm sure you'll be watching. What are you looking for, my friend?
I am looking for President Trump to clown Joe Biden. I am ready to laugh at how President Trump is going to embarrass this man. Joe Biden embarrasses himself every day, but President Trump is going to show the world how incompetent Joe Biden is. President Trump is going to show the world how sleepy Joe Biden is. I don't think Joe Biden is even going to be awake during the debate. I don't think he's going to wake up in time. You know what? To be honest with you, this is like too good to be true. Is Joe Biden really going to debate President Trump tonight? Like, this is almost too good to be true.
That's right.
I'm thinking he's going to call out sick or something. I don't know if it's going to really happen, because this is going to be the spanking of the 21st century. It's going to be so crazy.
Yep.
Everyone says that he is going to be there, Terrence, and he has been practicing debating for weeks now. He continually calls a lid early on in the day in the month of September. Now we're at the end of September, and he has started to do a few interviews. A few days ago, he did an interview on MSNBC, but his debating skills, or maybe his knowledge level of things, didn't seem to have improved. Check this out.
Appreciated. For example, the Paycheck Protection Act. 1% of the money's gone out. 1%. 1% of the that's not the paycheck. The bill for small businesses. Main Street lending. 1%'s gone out.
Now the moderator is not supposed to help him. What will he do tonight?
He's going to fail tonight. That's what's going to happen. I just saw the other day. Well, I think it was that interview. I saw that interview. I saw the whole one. I think he also said he was in the Senate for over 180 years.
Yep.
I said, like, dude, Or did you really just say that? He won't be able to get any help tonight, and we all know that he needs help. And people ask me, Terrence, what are you looking for? You know what? I already know what's going on here, okay?
Yep.
I already know that President Trump is fighting for America. We all see that. There's nothing that President Trump can say that I don't know. I
Yep.
know he is doing his job.
That's right.
Now, Joe Biden, I mean, what else? What could we be looking for?
That's
I
right.
mean, for him to complete a sentence?
Yep.
That's the only thing. I mean, I don't think we will get that. That's the only thing I expect from him. Maybe is to maybe complete a sentence for the first time. That's what I think Joe Biden needs to do first. Before he persuade anybody to vote for him,
That's
he
right.
has to complete a sentence first.
That's
And he
right.
should take a drug
Terrence, let me
test.
point out.
Take a drug test. I hear
Let
you.
me point out one of the stranger arguments being made by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris over the past few days. You probably picked up on this. Somehow, the Democrats are blaming Republicans and conservatives for burning down Portland and Minneapolis and the cities across America. It's apparently the Republicans and the far right that are, doing all these things. In fact, I want you to hear this from Kamala Harris. She says it's time to reimagine law enforcement in America. It's an odd thing. Listen to this.
I say, look, I know, having worked inside the system, we have to reimagine public safety and how we do public safety in our country. Because here's the thing. You go into any upper middle class suburb in America, you will not see the kind of police presence you see in other communities.
I wonder why.
Well, there's a reason for that. You don't see the kind of crime you see in other communities. You see,
That's right.
yes, they reimagined police in Portland and Seattle and Minneapolis. How'd that work out?
Uh-huh.
I laugh when you said they are blaming Trump supporters and Republicans for burning down businesses. That is absolutely crazy. Like, we all know that's not true. The Trump supporters and the Republicans, the conservatives, we are working people.
That's
we
right.
don't burn down things that we work hard for and that other
Amen.
people work hard for. But here she goes saying that police is not present in this community and that community, but in this community. Okay,
Right.
Kamala, it's a reason why cops are in one community more than the other community.
Common
Because
sense.
the cops are in that community because people are selling dope, crack cocaine, meth every single day.
Yep.
People are there shooting, killing, and stealing. So
Yep.
why wouldn't the police be there?
Yeah.
Why would the police be in a neighborhood that's full of elderly people who don't leave the house until they want to go to Walmart?
Amen.
Why would they be in the neighborhood? I mean, it don't make no sense. Unless somebody's in their neighborhood, unless those elderly folks are in the neighborhood gang banging and shooting and killing and stealing. But they not. So for her to sit up here and say, why are the cops in all these project communities in Chicago? Because people are shooting and killing and stealing and drug dealing and willing. Kamala, duh.
Yes,
And she
and I need
knows
to
it.
tell her, but Lori Lightfoot doesn't even agree with that. She has not said that they should abolish police. We have leaders that have come out of New York and those cities saying, well, we can't go with what these white people are saying. We can't abolish police in these neighborhoods. Now the city council in Minneapolis is regretting abolishing police or trying
see?
to abolish the police
Backtracking.
there. Now they're asking, where are the police? It's
Duh.
almost as if they forgot what they did just a few months ago.
Amen.
But I want to bring you to something different that we're seeing more and more. We're seeing students that are kicked out of class for various reasons, especially
Yeah, this
now
is
that we're
stupid.
doing these virtual classes where students are at home. So recently, a 16-year-old was threatened in his class because he had a Trump flag in his bedroom. Now, the school has rules that you can't
In his
wear clothing that
bedroom.
have swear words or anything offensive on it, but not political. You are allowed, supposedly, in the school to express your freedom of speech. But take a look at this video of this teacher telling the student he had 15 seconds or she was going to kick him out of class to get rid of his Trump flag. Here it is.
Crazy.
You can sit up, remove the flag, or reposition your camera within the next 15 seconds, or I'm kicking you out of class.
She's counting. Uh-huh.
And at the end, you just see him wave. You see him there wave. and he just left the class on his own because he didn't think he could get up and get the flag down. But
Yep.
should he have to take the flag down if it's not a school rule? And has it gone too far with this
Yep.
fear of politics amongst our own children and in the classroom with teachers?
Yep,
Absolutely no, he shouldn't have to take his flag
that's
down.
right.
School rules my butt. Listen here, okay? School rules should not apply. All school rules should not apply on Zoom. For crying out loud, they are on Zoom. People are in the comfort of their own homes. I am not about to redecorate my house to please a teacher.
That's right.
That's not happening. It's not happening. I'm not removing a flag. I'm not removing a hat. I'm not removing a vase, a lamp, or anything to please school rules and to please the teacher. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
That's
You
right.
shouldn't be kicking these kids out of Zoom class because they have a Trump flag in the background. You know, it's not hurting anyone. It's not really at the school. They are at home.
That's right.
I don't get it. It don't make sense. Like, why are they
Parents?
doing it?
I'm looking at my watch. You got 15 seconds to get that hat off, mister. Oh, that's right. I mean, 15 seconds. I mean, how silly is that? Yeah, that thing stand. Oh, and then I like the kid. He waved. He said, "Well, I'm out of here. That's cool." But here's something else that bothers me, Terrence, and it should bother everybody. We just saw this happen in Ohio, where two kids, one took the Blue Lives Matter flag, and the other one took the Thin Red Line flag. One honoring his father, that was a policeman. The other one honoring his father, who was a fireman. They got kicked off the football team briefly. Then they were reinstated. But it's going on in Florida as well. Look at this: thin blue line flags banned from the football field after the team flew it in honor of a player's late police officer father. His father
Banned from
laid
the
down
freaking
his
field.
life in public service. And these people have the gall, the nerve to come after these children. Terrence, this is what I find upsetting in today's
Yep.
American life, is things that should be embraced. A man who is a frontline hero, giving his life out there for the rest of us, and saying we can't honor that because it's too political. I mean,
That's
it's got to raise
crazy.
your blood temperature.
Absolutely. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the man's father put his life on the line to protect and serve his community.
Yep.
And that young man and his friends, they have the right to celebrate that the man's life. You know, this man actually, you know what? The entire school,
Yep.
the entire football
Yep.
team, in the other team, everybody that was out there should have been celebrating that officer, because that officer put his life on the line every single day
Yep.
for all of them. Okay,
Yep.
officers put their life on the line for every single body in their community. So
Amen.
everybody should have had a flag. How about that? They all
Uh-huh.
should have had a flag.
Yeah, absolutely, Terrence. I think this is just another sign that fear is running rampant right now, and Democrats want you to be afraid and go to the ballot box out of fear. And I don't think that's necessarily working when you're cracking down on law enforcement and when you're saying you can't honor a man who spent 29 years working in law
That's
enforcement. That
crazy.
is unfortunate. But Terrence K. Williams, thank you so much for coming on. Always appreciate having you.
Un-American.
And Steve, I want to talk about Ilhan Omar, because actually
Listen to
while
this.
we were doing this first segment of the show, I have someone tweeting at me saying, you got to get into that Ilhan Omar story. This is my state. I want you to talk about it. And Steve, of course, we're going to talk about it, because this is really one of the biggest stories out there today. James O'Keefe
Sure is.
with Project Veritas, he goes undercover, and what did he find? A lot of stuff, didn't he?
Well, he found a lot of folks that are committing voter fraud in Minneapolis.
Uh-huh. There you
Ilhan
go.
Omar's district there, her congressional district. And in fact, one gentleman in the Somali community, as you can imagine, there's a big influx of Somalis in this one area. They've been coming here as legal immigrants for a number of years, 25 years, give or take. But the gentleman posts a videotape in part to the internet. It gets downloaded and saved. And then James O'Keefe and his team go out from Project Veritas and go undercover and start talking to people about voter fraud, specifically about going to where elderly people in the Somali community live. People going to the door, knocking on the door saying, we need to see your ballot. We're going to fill it out while you watch, or will you do it while we watch, and then we're going to have it sent in. Then we'll pay you for that. Look at this first bite. It's really stunning.
Check
What
this
was
out.
portrayed and what was revealed in this Project Veritas video. If you haven't seen it, watch closely.
I think Ilhan Omar is one of the people who are behind all this mess,
Yep.
and they have a lot of people that work for them that make sure that tasks get carried out, ballots collected, there's cash money exchanging hands. It's an open secret that everybody knows it, but they don't talk about it.
Will they do it again for the next election, general election?
Yeah, November Yeah, November. Actually, they're gearing up for November. Yes, 80,000 of immigrants votes will swing this election to one side, and then they became very important. They became the focus of this, and millions of dollars are spent to make sure that these 80 or 100,000 of immigrant votes go one way. So it will make a difference.
And if they don't vote that way, they have a solution for that. Somebody knocks on the door, says, fill out your ballot. They supervise you filling out your ballot, then they collect it, and they turn it in. At one point in the video, Tudor, I pulled over yesterday and watched this entire video. It was frightening, gut-wrenching. The guy had 300 ballots stacked up on the dash of his car.
Told you it
bragging
was
about
crazy.
300 ballots that he had filled out for Ilhan Omar.
Uh-huh.
He didn't care. This was from the primary. But if you have 80,000 votes, like was just mentioned there, in the state of Minnesota, a state that President Trump lost by only a few thousand votes, that can be the difference in an important outcome. Right?
Yep.
I know you were just as appalled.
Absolutely. I was talking to our producer this morning, and she said, well, her daughter, Ilhan Omar's daughter, tweeted out that she won by 35,000 votes, so this is irrelevant. Well, if you listen to what that man just said, it's not irrelevant. 80,000 votes in the Somali community, and this is obviously very big business. They're getting $800 for their votes, so you're paying $800 for your vote. That's $800. That's a lot of money in that community, and so these people are gladly selling their vote, many of them not even understanding truly what they're doing, Steve. But we have another woman who says that Ilhan Omar is clearly behind this. Take a look.
Uh-oh.
She's the one who came up with all this. The community, she's the one. Nobody knew about it. Yeah, this is something that the community people have.
So she did it. She started this whole thing with the pay to vote.
Yeah. Which I think is very interesting when you hear this is
very illegal.
She's the one that started this, Steve. That's pretty damning.
Yeah, and just remember, Minnesota's the same place where Norm Coleman was on his way to re-election in a very tight race. And suddenly, a trunk full of ballots were discovered magically that helped the Democrat in that race, and Norm Coleman was unseated. Minnesota has a history of very questionable discoveries ballots. Again, if you haven't seen this video from Project Veritas, I strongly advise you take a moment sometime today and go look at it. You will be shocked and appalled at what you see there. 300 ballots. And remember, this is just one man. So Ilhan Omar's daughter can say it's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. It is completely irrelevant. This is one snapshot of one guy on one day with 300 ballots in his car. Meaning the fraud, the dishonesty, the cheating, the manipulation is likely far larger. If you get 300 ballots in a single day, and they were pointing out to these large high-rise apartment buildings that are full of retirees and elderly people in the Somali community. And every single vote in every one of those apartments, in all of the towers, ironically went to the same person, Ilhan Omar. Isn't that remarkable? It's not just 300 votes we're talking about here, Tudor. It is a remarkable number of votes that could swing a national election, that could swing the state of Minnesota to Joe Biden's column, potentially with bought and paid for votes from Somali immigrants.
Absolutely, and this is not lost on the president. Of course, he was out tweeting. He says this is totally illegal. Hope that the U.S. attorney in Minnesota has this and other of her many misdeeds under serious review. If not, why not? We will win Minnesota because of her, and law enforcement saved Minneapolis and Iron Ore Range. So, Steve, it's very interesting because the police have now come out and said they are investigating this. Of course, they got right on this. There are some police left in Minnesota, and they are right on top of this. And Steve, why
Good.
wouldn't they be?
Good to know.
Because this is a woman who came out and attacked them. Maybe not the smartest thing to do to attack the police when you are doing something highly illegal right underneath their noses.
Amen. Thank you.
My hope would be that Bill Barr, the Attorney General, would take an interest in this case. And I'm going to guess that he would, Tudor. It's kind of up his alley. Bill Barr investigating voter fraud. He's
Yep.
warned about it. He said mail-in balloting, as we're seeing here in Minnesota, can be dangerous. And let's hope that Bill Barr has picked this up on his radar.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that he will have picked this up. We also want to talk about Colorado. There's some scary stuff going on in Colorado where they are sending out applications for ballots or requesting that you send in an application for a ballot. Someone's mother received one. She said she's been dead for 4 years. She hasn't lived, voted, owned property, worked, or done anything other than visit Colorado since 1967. Steve, these are the stories that we will continue to hear in the
And
next
that's just what Trump was
35
talking
days
about.
until this election.
And how frightening
Because,
is that? Yeah.
right,
But
people
it's just
are
frightening.
aware now.
That's just what
Yes,
Trump
they
was
are
talking
looking for
about.
voter
Ballots
fraud.
in the ditch. Yeah, you find ballots in the ditch as well. There were votes for Donald Trump. These stories continue to. You're exactly right. America's Voice Live will continue as well after this.
See, just Trump is uncovering all the bullshit. Excuse my French, but I see this election in his favor. I really do. With that kind of news, hell yeah. And I guarantee you, he is going to pull the plug on the swamp. He ain't just going to drain the swamp. He's going to pull the plug. Okay? So, be prepared. Be very prepared. Because, excuse my French, one more time, shit's going to hit the fan really bad. So, take it for what it's worth and do what you want with it.
Well, just how far the Democrats willing to go to stop the nomination of the glorious ACB? Well, Tudor, let me tell you something. They're willing to do just about anything. They'll talk about packing the Supreme Court if Trump gets Amy Coney Barrett on the court. They're talking about adding new justices if Joe Biden is elected and they control the Senate. They're talking about impeachment of the president. They're even talking about impeachment of the Attorney General, Bill Barr. Nancy Pelosi says it's all on the table, and I encourage them to do all of those things because it will make for a very interesting 35 days between now and Election Day. Listen to what Nancy Pelosi had to say.
And when it comes to individuals like Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who this week did not rule out this long shot effort to try to stall the confirmation of Judge Barrett by impeaching Attorney General Bill Barr. Now, you haven't ruled it out.
Well, I'm not familiar with the suggestion that distinguished Congresswoman made. However, the fact is, the more the public is aware of what this appointment, and by the way, it's not about this justice, it's about any justice he would appoint right now.
Yeah.
And the political story being told by the Democrats is it will mean an end to the Affordable Care Act. It will mean an end to Obamacare. It'll be an end to Roe v. Wade, all of these things. But keep this in mind. John Paul Stevens, nominated, I believe, in 1975. It took 16 days to complete his nomination and confirmation process. For Sandra Day O'Connor, it took 33 days, the first woman to sit on the nation's high court. And for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the recently passed justice, well, it took just 42 days. The fact of the matter is, Nancy and the Democrats are throwing out anything they can because, politically speaking, they have little to stop this effort because of their own doing, because of Senator Reid and his maneuvering from Nevada here a few years ago. The filibuster and the need for 60 votes is gone. 51 will get it done, and that's why Donald Trump has been able to fill so many seats in the federal court. But as you see, Tudor, they are willing to go to any length. Impeachment of the president, of the attorney general, whatever it takes, or as they say, by any means necessary.
Well, they're hoping that if Joe Biden does by chance win the presidency, there's a chance to pack the court. That is the discussion behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And so when Joe Biden
Mighty
peeked his
big,
head
yeah.
out of the gopher hole for a few minutes to speak to reporters the other day, they did get that question into him. Would you pack the court? This was his response.
Have you ruled out expanding the Supreme Court as president under any circumstances whatsoever?
I am not, and I know you're going to be upset with my answer. But what I'm not going to do is play the Trump game, which is a good game he plays. Take your eye off the issue before us. If I were to say yes or no to that, that becomes a big issue. That's the headline here.
But Steve, that is the issue before us when it comes to the Democrat nominee. Because we're looking at this and we're saying the president is doing his duty to appoint a nominee. That is what he is supposed to do. But will this vice president, if he becomes president, then pack the court? It's a legitimate question. Can he do this tonight in the debate?
It has to come up in the debate. It really has to. Now, keep in mind, Chris Wallace has been trying to get an interview with Joe Biden for a number of weeks now. But Joe Biden, as you aptly put it, only sticks his head up from the gopher hole from time to time. He'll take a couple of quick questions, usually with easy candy cane questions for people like The View or whatever. Softball questions, easy stuff. He doesn't sit down for hard interviews. At least he has not yet. So I wonder if Chris Wallace feels like he has to do his job as a journalist tonight and get some of those hard questions on the table. I certainly hope that he will. I believe that he will. Chris Wallace, I would say, is no fan of Donald Trump based on the interactions they've had over the years. But Donald Trump sat down with Chris Wallace and a number of other hard interviewers in just the last few weeks and took the hard questions. Joe Biden has not done that. So, Tina, we will find out tonight. Will Chris Wallace get the interview we've been looking for, just in a different setting?
Well, he says if he does his job right, you'll ask who was the moderator of that debate. I like that attitude because I don't want the moderator to be the person on display. You want the president and the nominee to be the person on display. So we'll see if he achieves that goal. Stay tuned. We have a great interview for you up next.
He won't do it. You watch. It's going to be a mud in the face so hard. Oh, my God. You'll never see Biden again.
Steve, it is the day we've all been waiting for. If you are a political junkie, this is like Christmas. We've been talking about it for, it seems like forever. When will these debates actually start? This one, especially because we've wondered, will there be coronavirus? Will someone bail? Will someone not come out of the basement? There's been a lot of questions as to what would happen, but so far, it's afternoon and it looks like it's still happening. So we want to bring another political junkie into the mix, Dave Brat. He is a former congressman and dean of business at Liberty University. Dave, thank you for joining us again. We want your opinion. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I was born in Detroit and grew up in the Midwest. I think the debate, both of them are going to be going right after Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio, Pennsylvania. You know, Trump will be trying to score points on the jobs, come back, manufacturing, China. They'll probably hit Biden on some of that. Biden's going to try to go back on Trump on COVID probably and try to score some points on that one.
It ain't going to go nowhere.
Primarily, my question, if I were the moderator to the former vice president, would be, what would you have done differently, Mr. Biden? Hopefully, Chris Wallace will get something in along that line. But Dave, I want to ask you this. We were just talking in the previous segment of the program here about the Project Veritas video that came out yesterday because Minnesota's in play again. Minnesota was a near miss for the president in 2016. He came very close, less than 1% of winning Minnesota. And because of all the problems in Minneapolis and the rioting and so forth, Minnesota has become a straight toss-up state. But now we see blatant voter fraud being bragged about in social media videos. They had a guy in a car with 300 ballots that he said were all bought and paid for by Ilhan Omar to vote for Ilhan Omar. Well, that community that she lives in is 80,000 people strong. There's enough votes there to swing the entire state of Minnesota one way or the other. How important is it that law enforcement or the FBI or the Department of Justice get involved and figure out what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely crucial. I mean, it's on film, like you just said. And this is the guy that ran the governor's race back in Minnesota, where they held the ballots open and won on the kind of the hanging Chad theory back then as well. So it's the same cast of characters. And now you have, Pennsylvania holding the polls open 2 weeks later. Michigan's got legislation in for 2 weeks later. So there's a pattern here that's being set up. It's clear. And now this is just the final smoking gun.
Yep.
And so, if
I want you to hear something here, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to play you that portion of the tape where the guy is bragging about having ballots in his car. Look at what we've got here on tape from Project Veritas. Incredible job by James O'Keefe and his team. But look at this.
Yep.
waxaasoo dhan sooma jeedi waa buuxaa gaarigayga waa buuxka yaala waxaas kulli waa jamaal cusmaan wey fiiri 300 keliya maanta soo dhacday jamaal cusmaan
300 ballots for Omar.
300 ballots there, Dave. Now, I don't know if you speak Somali. I don't. Thankfully, it was subtitled, but you can see everything that's going on there. He's got stacks of ballots right on the dash of his car.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing where the FBI, the Department of Justice, Minneapolis Police, the Minnesota Department of Investigation, they all need to come in, right or wrong.
Yeah, no, right on. And fortunately, there's some patriotic Somalis that love this country and don't want to return to, sub-democratic patterns of behavior. And so they're doing the right thing and reporting some of these guys. And then secondly, where are the good Democrat liberal organizations that are talking about, Trump being a fascist, trying to take over elections and fair democratic election process? You have a gazillion of these groups funded on the left. Some claim to be moderate or whatever to guide fair elections. Where are they?
That's
right.
What
So
I'm
anybody
saying.
donating to any of those groups, you better take another look because they're showing their hand here 100%. And so now, none of these groups that believe in their principles are there to fight the fight. So this has got to go to Barr, Department of Justice. And hopefully they do the right thing right now. And a lot of this is going to go to the Supreme Court. Right. And so that's why that seat is so crucial. At the end of the day, every one of these pieces is going to make its way up to the Supreme Court. 200 lawsuits in already being filed on this and many other issues that we just don't have time to get to today. But it's kind of amazing. None of it on the Republican side yet that I've heard. And we're the ones that the mainstream press is assaulting as running rigged elections. So it's just amazing doublespeak.
Well, and they're attacking the president because they're saying that it's not going to be a peaceful transition of power, but he thought he won Minnesota in 2016. Now, one of the clips that we played in the last segment, the person said, this is actually all new with Ilhan Omar. So if you know that this is new with Ilhan Omar, that's the year that Ilhan Omar ran. Does that mean that she rigged that election in 2016? And are we going to look at this and say, well, the president was right about being spied on. The president was right about not getting the information on Russia collusion. And now the president was right about rigged elections in 2016. And this time they have a much better chance of rigging the election.
No, that's all spot on. And, you got Twitter and all the tech giants, Facebook, saying we're not going to announce a winner on November 3rd. Right, so they're lying with the mainstream media. CNN won't make the call. There's some decent reporting on these colored revolutions that have been held abroad in Eastern Europe. Same folks are over here now in the United States trying to get up elections and breed chaos in the streets so that there's going to be a battle after November 3 for the first time. Prolonged battles going right to mid-December, maybe up to January 20.
Damn.
And that's the contest. And the left thought they were being clever with these mail-ins, but now with the new Supreme Court and Barr playing a role, Axios, who's considered a talking piece for the left, came in last week and shifted their strategy. Said we got to vote in person now. The gig's up. They found out what we're doing. Roughly speaking, paraphrase, right? But the left is in serious trouble now because the Supreme Court is going to be the arbiter, and they're in trouble on that. And I think they learned that when the states all vote, it's not by population; it's one state a vote, and the Republicans now have 26 to 23 on that score. So the Dems and all their attempts to get around the rule of law and take the the votes away from where the people are, right? They want the electoral votes and envelopes to be in the streets. They want them to be off in the hands of elites. They do not want the American people in the middle of this thing, and it looks like they're failing miserably.
Dave, game this out for us, if you would, real quick. We've only got about a minute left here, but game this out.
Sure.
What happens if we get to to January 20th, and it has not been sorted out yet? We're still not sure about the conclusion. 3 or 4 states still have not certified their vote. What happens?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of scenarios, and I'm not an expert on that. I was looking stuff up yesterday up till the election. From the election, the electoral college meets. The electoral college to January 20. At January 20, that's the drop dead date. So by then you already have the states are going to vote, right? And everybody thought it might be, Speaker Pelosi because she's head of the House, but it turns out it's one state, one vote. That takes place prior to January 20. Right.
And more Republican legislatures than Democrat legislatures. So that's why voting at the local level critically important. Dave Bratt, always an education from you. Thank you for being here. We greatly appreciate it. Tudor, it could be the greatest few weeks of our life. You and I could be on the edges of our chairs through December into January, for news hounds and news junkies. I mean, this is good stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I keep seeing people say, "I just let November 3rd be over," and I keep thinking it's not going to be over on November 3rd when you're watching America's Voice Live.
That's exactly it. Like I said, be prepared. Be very prepared, because SOL, shit's gonna hit the fan in a heartbeat. It's gonna be pins and needles and what the hell happened and oh my God.
You may remember a few weeks ago after the RNC when Senator Rand Paul was harassed on the streets of Washington, D.C. Well, our very own Heather Mullins had a chance to speak with him recently. Heather, tell us about that.
I did. So I spoke to him. Subject of the conversation was obviously Judge Amy Barrett's nomination in Supreme Court by the President of the United States. And there's already actually been reports of protests for these October 12th. They begin the Senate confirmation hearings for her. And I wanted to get his thoughts on, are we going to see these violent mobs of people show up to the Senate hearings, and how do we proceed moving forward? So here's some of what he had to say.
I think we do have to do something about safety of not only public officials, but anybody who wants to eat in a restaurant anymore is at risk from these people. So, yeah, we have to do more to protect not just elected officials, everyone. The only good news I can say is that because of the virus, the office buildings aren't open. So all those crazy people that were yelling at congressmen and senators and calling them rapists when we were doing the Kavanaugh thing, which I think was grotesque, and there's just a grotesque thing that they did to Judge Justice Kavanaugh. But we're not going to have that in the building. They can do it all they want outside. It's grotesque that it's happening, and it's happening in Democrat-run cities and Democrat-run states, and something's got to happen to change. But it's not just for us, not just for political figures. It's for everyone. They're ruining restaurants. In D.C., no one's going to want to go to a restaurant. You can't sit inside because of the virus, and you can't sit outside because of these thugs.
Yep.
So I say arrest them all, and keep arresting them till they quit doing it.
That's right.
So Senator Rand Paul says we should arrest them all, but we actually know that there's several cities in America right now that have actually been holding back their police officers. In fact, a September 2nd memorandum from the president looked into specific cities that were permitting violence and destruction of property. And actually the Department of Justice came out naming 3. New York City, Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, as 3 cities that were essentially holding back law enforcement, allowing this violence and destruction on their streets. So we're going to hopefully see some, changes moving forward in terms of maybe withholding federal funding, because we can deploy police officers as only so much as the Democrats in those cities are willing to do it, willing to give those orders. And if they're not, the only thing we can do is withhold federal funding. But The October 12th Senate hearings are just around the corner. We're going to have coverage here on Real America's Voice. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Heather. And Steve, I'm sure that those protests are going to continue once those hearings begin, once we start to see people talking more and more about the Supreme Court justice. We'll have those protesters out on the streets, probably in Democrat-led states across the country.
No question. In fact, tonight, in advance of the first debate, if you haven't heard, Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio has put out the National Guard to make sure the protests around the debate site tonight are not going to get out of hand. Our own Ben Berquam was there when the glorious ACB's name was put up for nomination to the Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, he was the man on the streets there. He joins us now live to talk more about his experiences. Ben, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Good to have you.
Yeah, it was
what you saw.
So we were there the night of the announcement and the next day, Saturday and Sunday. And it really felt like the calm before the storm. There were several protesters. We were at the White House the night, the moment actually President Trump made the announcement. We were outside at the quote-unquote BLM Plaza that they've set up there, and a lot of Trump supporters were there because of the return and the Christian event that was going on that weekend. But then there were a lot of radical, crazy, and some violent leftist BLM Antifa types. We stayed out till it got dark. We were threatened several times. And actually what you're seeing right here is where one Trump supporter, our friend Suzanne Monk, was praying for everyone, for all Americans, for BLM, for everyone. And right next to her, as this prayer was going on, this woman with a Trump flag with the hammer and sickle saying that President Trump's communist, that's the first time I've heard that one before, started saying white Jesus is white supremacy as the prayer was going on. So it's been crazy. And the next day we had the same people out there at the Supreme Court supporting the murder of the unborn. That's what we anticipate from here on out, on top of them attacking Amy Coney Barrett on her adoption of two Haitian children.
Yeah, we see those attacks against adoption, but we haven't seen those attacks on folks in your home state in Hollywood. So why is this adoption an attack now but not then?
Right. Well, of course, it's like everything with the left. Do as I say, not as I do. It's always a double standard. It only works if it applies to them. If it applies to you, then it's terrible, it's evil, it must be racist. Even sexist. They're claiming that Amy Coney Barrett is sexist, which is kind of ironic because she's a woman. They say she's anti-woman. It's very bizarre.
Really?
But so what I anticipate, and I was there, I was actually on the ground for much of the Kavanaugh hearings, and I got assaulted several times. I had my confirmed Kavanaugh sign out there. They didn't like that. There were about 30 of us in support of Justice Kavanaugh, and about 10,000 of them. I anticipate as we get closer to that October 12th date that we're going to see probably 10 times that number of radical, screaming, violent leftists. But I don't think it's going to work. I pray, like Rand Paul says, that we can push it through before November 3rd, because we know the Democrats want to push this election. They want to be able to get it to the Supreme Court in the hopes that they can have it overturned when President Trump, I anticipate, wins on November 10th or 12th or whatever date we actually get the results back on.
Ben Berquam, thank you so much for that report. I'm going to guess if it starts on the 12th of October, they're going to complete on Teddy Roosevelt's birthday, which, of course, Tudor, you know, is October the 27th. I didn't want to put you on the spot there, but I know you knew it was Teddy Roosevelt's birthday, October 27th. By the way, tonight, live coverage, don't miss it, of the debate. Debate number 1 in Cleveland. Amanda Head, Eric Greitens there for the America's Voice, Real America's Voice team.
Stay tuned to get...
Yep. See? Like I said, it's crazy. Slap crazy. So, you don't want to pay attention or acknowledge the real news or what people are saying. I think you really need to listen and open your ears and get off that CNN crap. ABC, all them other ones. NBCS or whatever it is. All them alphabet lunatics, I call them. And listen to something that's well worth listening to that'll set you straight. and get you on the right track. But you don't like Trump, that's one thing. Oh, fine, whatever. But I guarantee you, he deserves a second term. Out of every president, I'm 62 years old. I have seen them all. And out of all of them, I say Trump is my number one compadre. Lock, stock, and barrel.
It's going to be a long night for a lot of us, Tudor. You know that. I know that. I get up awfully early, but I wouldn't miss it for the world. We've had September 29th circled on a calendar for a very long time, as has Jessica Rivera, America's Voice Live correspondent. She's got a preview of tonight's festivities. She's joining us now. Jessica, what do you think is on the horizon for the first big debate in Cleveland tonight?
Well, Stephen Tudor, the nation's attention, if not the world, will be on the first presidential debate tonight. There are 6 topics for tonight's debate. They are Trump and Biden's records. Number 2 will be the Supreme Court. The 3rd will be COVID-19. The 4th, the economy. 5th will be about race and violence in our cities. And the 6th topic will be the integrity of the election. Many expect tonight's debate to center around hot-button issues like the Times claiming the president has not paid income taxes, his coronavirus response, and his Supreme Court nominee, along with Biden's many gaffes and the latest on his son Hunter's possible improper foreign dealings. Co-chair of the Commission on Presidential Debates, Frank J. Fahrenkopf Jr., says presidential debates are very important to voters.
And there are people who say, oh, well, it's a waste of time. Everyone's made up their mind where they're going to go. That's not necessarily true. We've done a lot of polling afterwards, and we know that 60 to 75% of the public says that the debates are important factors in their decision of who they're going to vote for. It's not the only factor, but it is a factor that they take into consideration of what they're going to do.
And Biden says he will be fact-checking the president in real time.
I'm going to be a fact checker on the floor while I'm debating it. In fact,
And President Trump thinks actually Biden will perform just fine with some help.
We cannot have a low energy individual as our president. We can't. And he's the lowest energy individual I've ever seen. So we'll see what happens, but he's living up. Maybe he's going to be great at the debate. He's been doing it for 47 years.
Yeah.
Somebody said, oh, he won't do well at the debate. I said, I think you're wrong. He'll do fine. He's going to do fine. They'll give him a big shot or something, and he'll go out there. He'll have a lot of energy. He'll have energy. He'll be like Superman for about 15 minutes.
Tonight, each segment is set to be 15 minutes, which allows for 2-minute responses from both President Trump and Joe Biden, and there will be no commercial breaks. Tudor and Steve.
Well, that's good.
Well, that should be a lot of fun, actually, and I look forward to it. Jessica, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here, of course. I'm looking at this, Tudor, and she said that Joe Biden is going to be the fact checker. Really, the guy that's been in the Senate for 180 years is going to fact check. The guy that said 200 million Americans have died from COVID is going to be the fact checker. The guy that said 150 million more Americans were killed by gun violence, he's going to be the fact checker. Well, that sure should be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And I also want to remind you that his wife is campaigning for him. So today, as we mentioned, Michigan is a battleground state, very important. His wife is the one visiting Michigan today. They are concerned about red areas. They want to siphon off as many votes as they can in red areas. So Jill Biden will be going to northern Michigan today. She's making 2 stops before the debate. Then I'm assuming she will go down to Cleveland and watch her husband in this debate.
That'd be my guess as well. We do have special coverage here we wanted to remind you of. Continuing live coverage will be right here on Real America's Voice. It'll be headlined by Amanda Head and Eric Greitens and the complete Real America's Voice team there on the ground at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. As I mentioned, Governor Mike DeWine of the state of Ohio, he said before the debate starts, he put in the National Guard. He doesn't want any tomfoolery. No hooligans, no riots, no nonsense, no runs, no drips, no errors. He wants no problems. And he planned about this, by the way, Tudor, several weeks in advance. He saw what was going on around the country. He said, not in Cleveland, not this time.
No, and we know the president, you saw that clip of the president saying that the former vice president would get a shot of something. He's asked for a drug test several times, Steve. I don't think he's going to get it tonight.
Yep.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Yep. See? They want Trump's taxes, but yet he won't take a drug test. Give me a break. Well, anyway, I hope you found this interesting and very knowledgeable to pass the word, because we've all seen what's been going on. And those that got common sense and can put 2 and 2 together and not come up with 6 sees what's going on. So that's my take on the whole situation. I'm going to get off here and go about my own business. Have a good day. Have a good evening. Have a good whatever. I'm off of here. Ciao, guys.